now, right now. Right 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 now, right now. Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the war. The government has been Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we are going to be discussing the Bitcoin price because, as you know, Bitcoin has had a major scare over just the last couple of weeks, ever since the Securities and Exchange Commission filed charges against against Binance, the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the entire industry. 2 weeks ago today, 2 weeks ago from tomorrow, they filed charges against Coinbase, the second largest cryptocurrency exchange in the industry, effectively beginning a war on crypto. Following those declarations, if you will, we have seen massive price drops on Bitcoin to the tune of a couple of $1,000s at most. And then we've also seen major drops in the tens of percentage points over on the altcoins. The question that we're going to be analyzing today is whether or not that drop is over, and has Bitcoin actually bottomed? Because Bitcoin has rallied somewhat. It's sitting in the $26,000 region. Is Bitcoin going to be able to hold here and move higher? Or is this just one final stop before a major crash down to $20,000? This price is critical and absolutely must hold if the bulls have any hope of being able to maintain this Maginot line that we have set up here above $25,236. My name is Jeb McAfee. I'm Crypto Jeb. We've been on the Crypto Jeb YouTube channel for almost 6 years now. This channel was created November 16, 2017. We've been analyzing Bitcoin and cryptocurrency markets and pushing the message of financial sovereignty ever since. If you guys don't know what financial sovereignty is, that is the concept of having complete and total control and authority and dominion and kingship over your finances rather than them having control and dominion over you. You see, one thing I want to share with you guys here at the beginning of the show is that you can have sovereignty over a lot of things. You can have sovereignty over your finances. You can have sovereignty over your guns. You can have sovereignty over your relationship. You can have sovereignty over your home. The point of this channel is to teach you guys how to have sovereignty over your finances. Then maybe you'll take the concepts of sovereignty and apply them to other parts of your life. We are not called to be slaves to our body. We're not called to be slaves to our finances. We are not called to be servants to materialism. We're not called to be servants to bad relationships that are not healthy. We're not called to be servants to the government. We're not called to be in bondage to a home that's incredibly dirty. We're not called to be in bondage. And I think today is a great day to talk about financial sovereignty as we analyze cryptocurrency markets, as today is June 19th, otherwise known as Juneteenth, as a federally recognized holiday ever since 2019. Just a little bit of background on this holiday. I am learning about this holiday for the first time this year because it's not something I've actually learned a whole lot about, but it's somewhat interesting to me. So June 19th, 1865 was the day that the slaves were, in principle, by law, technically it'd be de jure, were freed in Texas following as the wind down of the United States Civil War occurred. And so that was the end of slavery, at least theoretically. It's the day it's celebrated in Texas. And so today I want to celebrate that because obviously slavery is a horrible thing. It's one of the things we fight against the most is bondage. And so I want to remind you guys, if you're in bondage in any way, whether it be in literal slavery, because that does still exist in this world, unfortunately, it's terrible, or you're in bondage to your finances, you're in bondage to, your body, you're in bondage to a relationship that maybe the relationship's supposed to be there, like your marriage, but it's not where it should be, or into your home because maybe you're a hoarder, maybe you've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of gallons of trash in your house. Whatever it is, today is the day that you can begin your journey towards freedom, the same way that the slaves did during the Civil War. And, luckily a lot of progress has been made in that direction. Not saying everything's perfect, but a lot of progress has been made. And I know a lot of progress can be made in your life as well if we will do two things. Number one, we will grow in our education. And number two, we will grow in our character. Assuming you have an environment that allows for you to not be enslaved, because obviously the slaves, through no fault of their own, were in that situation. So long as you live in a capitalistic, at least somewhat free society, If you've got your education and you've got the spiritual side of things down, you can achieve financial sovereignty. I believe 99% of you guys in the United States can achieve financial sovereignty because you live in, for the most part, a free country that is, for the most part, a capitalistic society. All of you guys can become financially sovereign. All of you guys can become millionaires if you want to be by simply applying the right principles. So in celebration of Juneteenth, let's celebrate the slaves being freed, and let's also celebrate our journey towards being freed of financial bondage and the other bondages in our life. Let's go ahead and read chat. Alex Naibo's number one. He was the first in chat, said good morning to you as well. Sean O'Brien said oi oi. Dan Nolan said right now. I love that song. Love it so much. Jackson Crawford, Ben, Crypto Surge, the classic IT guy, Mike Lowry in chat. Crypto Ricky. Let's see. Diamond Hands Daryl. That's a great name. That's an awesome name. Let's see. Mike Lowry's in chat. Really appreciate all you guys. June 19, 2021. I'm sorry. I thought it was in 2019. My only apologies. All they did was change the word slavery into a job. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make here. Most people are slaves to something in their life, and I don't believe that you are called to a life of bondage. I believe that you are called to a life of sovereignty over your finances and then surrender to the Lord Jesus Christ. That's a different subject, but I don't think that you're called to being in bondage to the circumstances or the materialism in your life. Let's get started. Right now, Bitcoin's trading at $26,466. It is up 0% over the last 24 hours. It is at exactly the same price, down to almost a penny that it was 24 hours ago. Yep, you saw that right. It's been trading sideways for 3 days. Over the last 7 days, Bitcoin is up 2.64%. It has managed to rally somewhat, but over the last 90, we're now down 5.54%. The reason that's significant, quite simply, the entire cryptocurrency market has transitioned from being in a major uptrend to being in a major sideways trend. And we can see that over on the chart right over here. Trading views give me a little bit of trouble. Give me 1 second, guys. You can see that right on the chart right over here. Bitcoin was in this major, just giant uptrend during the beginning of the year. We have largely transitioned that into a sideways movement. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. All right, Ethereum is down 0.39% over the last 24 hours. It is down 0.78% over the last 7 days, down 5% over the last 90 days. BNB is down 1.41% over the last 24 hours. Up 5.21% over the last 7 days, but is down 27.69% over the last 90. Just taking a quick look at BNB. Obviously, you guys know it. It is Binance Coin, is the coin of Binance that has made them tens of billions of dollars. And, of course, has the Binance Smart Chain on it. Ever since the attack on June 5th, this is Pearl Harbor for cryptocurrency. Obviously, it's nowhere near as bad because people didn't actually lose their lives, but kind of analogous in its significance to this overall conflict. We saw a 28% drop in the span of 7 days. And it barely recovered at all. The market is up ever so slightly over the last 7 days, so let's just keep context here. It's up a little bit over the last 7 days, but as you can see in the context, it's up 7%, 7 to 11%, depending on how you measure it, from the absolute low. Binance is still down 20% from where this attack began. And if you're familiar with Binance at all, you will know that that represents over $10 billion in market capitalization that Binance, the exchange, is no longer able to tap into. Luckily, Binance was one of the cryptocurrency exchanges that pushed hard for transparency on the exchanges. And so they say that they have plenty of liquidity. They say that they have plenty of assets to cover themselves and to continue being liquid. I do believe that's the case. But of course, I don't know that because I don't work at Binance. I don't have access to all of the master accounting documents over there at Binance. So again, when I say today that Bitcoin's price just got a second chance, what do I mean by that? Well, very simply, the Bitcoin price got a second chance because it dropped very hard, very quickly, below very significant levels of support. That drop perpetrated a major amount of concern in the cryptocurrency space. And so I'll show you what I mean. Let's just do a quick recap. We talked about on the weekend video how Bitcoin's price was in danger. That video is still very relevant, just so you guys know. Some people might be like, oh, well, Jeb, Bitcoin rallied quite a bit after that video. It did, but the point of that video remains. Bitcoin broke below all those support levels once. And if it can do it once, and if it can't set new higher highs, then that video is definitely, absolutely still relevant, and I'll show you why. In Saturday's video, we discussed how Bitcoin briefly broke below 25,236. We discussed how it briefly broke below this uptrending level of support. We discussed how Bitcoin's price briefly broke below the 200 daily EMA and below the 200 weekly EMA. We discussed how Bitcoin broke below all of these support levels, and it did rally from there. Relatively soon after I finished recording that video, Bitcoin rallied, and I decided to upload it anyway because I wanted you guys to see that even though we did go through a rally, that was not the point. The point is, by breaking below this level of support, Bitcoin has crossed the Rubicon, if you will. After Bitcoin did that, it put the first chink in the armor of the city walls, of the fortifications at $25,236. This was Germany going around the Maginot Line, if you will. The first incursion beyond enemy lines for the bears, that being the bulls, of course, happened. And so the question that we have to ask ourselves is, can Bitcoin get far enough away? Can the bulls drive Bitcoin far enough away, the bears far enough away from 25,236 that it is no longer in danger? Because with this breach, this level of support has been compromised. Think about it like this. This is not a perfect analogy because obviously we're dealing with two different levels of magnitude, several orders of magnitude in difference. But think about the difference between the U.S. Treasury having defaulted 0 times in history, as is currently the case, and that brings with it a certain degree of confidence in U.S. Treasuries because they have never defaulted in 200 years of history. Versus if you said, oh, they've only defaulted once. Well, they've defaulted once, then why can't they default again? I'm not saying they will, but then you start getting that question in your mind. Well, if it happened once, could it happen again? Maybe. And so that's where you test a level of support. If you go beyond the level of support, you intrinsically end up weakening that support. I mean, if you get, if you're in a fight and you get punched, you're going to end up being a little bit weaker because you took a punch, right? That's what the level of support has done. It is taking a punch. That doesn't mean it's capitulated. That doesn't mean it's collapsed, but it's going to be a little bit weaker. And the bears are very strong right now. Needn't forget that the bears are empowered by the SEC's attack against cryptocurrency. They're empowered by the uncertainty over whether or not we're going to see more Fed hikes, because it now seems like we will. They're empowered by the fact that the CPI data is relatively bearish for us because we've already seen so many drops that we're unlikely to see a whole lot more. The bears are also emboldened, by the way, with a small rally in risk-on assets in the traditional markets, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency being one of them. But Bitcoin and cryptocurrency have actually underperformed many of the other risk-on assets by about 24%, according to Bank of America. They just released a report a couple of days ago. There's been a major rally in risk-on assets in the NASDAQ. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency were tracking with those, but over the last month or so, they've started to decouple. If you look at the market, the SPY, for example, and overlay it on Bitcoin, Bitcoin typically follows the SPY. Bitcoin has been moving absolutely antipodal to the SPY over the last month, ever since about the 19th of May, believe it or not. The SPY has been going through a major surge. Bitcoin has not followed. Bitcoin has been inversely correlated to the SPY for some time now, which is an incredibly bearish factor. I need you to understand that that's actually very bearish because typically Bitcoin follows the SPY. So if Bitcoin is not able to rally when the SPY is rallying, then think about it like this. The SPY, the SPY, the S&P 500, Standard & Poor's 500, S&P 500, SPY, NASDAQ, all of them are rallying right now, and Bitcoin's correlated with all of them. So it doesn't really matter. Pick an index, I don't care. Pick a Fortune 500 index, pick a top market cap index in the United States stock market. Bitcoin's going to track with that traditionally. Right now, Bitcoin is not. So the bulls are getting reinforcements. It's helpful to think about this as a war between the bulls and the bears. A literal boots on the ground, troops on the ground, tanks on the ground, aircraft in the air, land war, right? The bulls have reinforcements. The bears have reinforcements. The bears right now are bringing in 500,000 men in the form of the SEC attacking the cryptocurrency space. They're bringing in the nuke, like Gary Gensler. Yes, Gary Gensler. I'm sorry. Gary Gensler dropped a nuke on crypto and like, boom, oh man. That makes things more complicated for the bulls. The bulls are bringing in their support, right? They're bringing in their reinforcements. They're bringing in, okay, Dixie's going down. They're bringing in, okay, SPY's going up. And so with the help of the SPY coming in as bullishness, Bitcoin is still not able to rally. So if the SPY's reinforcements withdraw, and we no longer have the reinforcements from a bullish SPY, from a bullish stock market, from a bullish NASDAQ, then the bears get only stronger proportionally because the bulls actually, in a real sense, got weaker. The reinforcements that the Bitcoin bulls had from the SPY, therefore, are helping to keep Bitcoin aloft, but they're not helping Bitcoin to rally because the pressure of the bears is so great. The tricky thing is, the support that Bitcoin is getting right now from the stock market is finicky. It is very finicky. because the stock market is not going to rally forever. It's going to go through corrections. We might see a recession at some point in the next, 12 to 16 months, 6 to 12 months. And at the same time, the Dixie, which is, dropping right now, this dropped pretty hard. This is giving Bitcoin support. The Dixie could start rallying at any point. So at any point in time, the Bitcoin bears could stay exactly as strong because the same FOMC reinforcements are going to be here until the end of the year because we don't know if there's going to be another 50 basis points rate hikes. That's not going anywhere overnight because it's not a market. CPI, the concern is probably not going anywhere because it's going to stop dropping so aggressively in the next couple of months. That's going to be a constant. The hawkishness from the Fed is going to be a constant over the course of the rest of this year. The attack against SEC and from the SEC against Coinbase and Binance and CZ is a constant. Those are three constants that are all very strong. Those are reinforcements that are committed and they're not going anywhere until at least calendar year 2024. Guaranteed. They're not going anywhere. About as close to guaranteed as you can get anyway. So those FUD stories are going to stay. The stock market could go into a drop any moment. It could correct at any moment. I'll tell you why. If you look at the SPY, just find it in my chart here. I'll track about like 300 markets. Here we go. The SPY could go into a drop at any moment. It's doing very well. And so that's giving Bitcoin, the bulls, the support. But it's fickle because the SPY could very easily hit support anywhere. 445, 453. It could hit support on any of these levels and enter into a major drop. And you know what? It probably will. The SPY has been going parabolic for 94 days. It's probably going to go into a drop at some point, which means that the reinforcements would be lost. The Dixie, if you look at the dollar currency index, let me just find it in my chart over here. I have so many that I track. I think I might just have to type it in. Here it is. The Dixie has been in a pretty major drop over the last several weeks. Ever since May 31st, we've seen it drop by 2%. That doesn't seem like a big deal, but in the context of the Dixie, it's actually a very large drop. So those two things are the Bitcoin bulls reinforcements. So let's just track with me here. You've got the effective federal funds rate being hawkish, CPI data likely becoming a bearish factor throughout the rest of the year, and the SEC attack against Binance, CZ, and Coinbase. All three of those things are extremely powerful. The SEC attacking Coinbase, Binance, and CZ is absolutely, hands down, bar none, the most powerful bearish story we have heard all year. We've heard a more bearish story, maybe, theoretically, at least in a moment, when FTX collapsed. That was more bearish because that directly impacted retail. Retail has not been directly impacted in that they have lost money to something by this SEC story. Yeah, they've just had losses in the market. They have not just, boom, I can't log into my account and get my money anymore. That was why that was so bad. So the SEC story is the biggest bearish news story that we've seen since FTX. And in its grand strategy, importance in this market is actually more important because it could lead to the downfall of Coinbase and Binance, both exchanges being at least 5 times larger than FTX in the United States. I'm not saying they'll go bankrupt. I'm not saying that they will capitulate. I'm not saying that they will crash and burn, but they could be banned in the United States because of what the SEC's enforcement action is doing. So that's the reinforcements for the bears, and remember that those are constants. Those are going to stay constant throughout the rest of this year. Now let's look at the reinforcements for the Bitcoin bulls. The reinforcements are as follows. All of the support at $25,236. That's fickle because if you drop below that, then now it's resistance and now it's in favor of the bears. It's a little bit like you're in World War I and you got trenches. Trenches are helpful, but if you lose the trench, then you just gave your enemy fortifications that they can use against you because they can just turn around and shoot the opposite way out of the back of the trench at you. And you don't want that. So 25,236 is in our hands for now. In our hands, the bulls for now. But if we drop below it and we put too many chinks in that armor, then we're going to end up turning it into resistance. The floor right now, but it could end up becoming a resistance. So it's one of the weaknesses of that bullish side of things. Now, on the other hand, the bulls do have the stock market going through a major rally. And they do have the Dixie going down. Both of those things are correlations that should be benefiting Bitcoin. Bitcoin should be getting strength and reinforcements. The bulls should be getting strength and reinforcements. 50,000 men, 100,000 men, aircraft carrier, whatever you want to call it. Here's reinforcements for that side of the war, right? And so the fact of the matter is that when they're getting those reinforcements, it matters the quality and it matters the strength and it matters how long they'll be there. The problem is the bears reinforcements, they are very strong and they're going to be here all year. They're not going anywhere. The problem with the bulls is that those reinforcements, one, that level of support are mercenaries. They're a trench system. They will flip into the enemy's hands if it becomes appealing for them. So 25,236 could very easily become a card against the bulls. The stock market could go into a drop at any point, and it probably will because it's a positive correlation to Bitcoin. And if it does, then it becomes a card in favor of the bears. And then also the Dixie could bottom out and go into a rally at any point, and it probably will. And then it will become a card in favor of the bears. You know how I can tell that? The Dixie's already trying to rally. The Dixie is already trying to rally because the United States dollar is performing relatively well against the rest of world currencies, for a number of geopolitical reasons I don't have time to get into right now. We also can see that the Dixie is sitting right above several critical levels of support. 1025 is a local high that we've set several times back here in 2017, back here in 2020. And then we've also got this huge uptrending level of support that's very powerful for the Dixie, that the Dixie is basically bouncing off of around 101.4. So if we do drop another 1% down here, then the Dixie could turn around and start moving up. The SPY could go into a drop, and then all of those factors that are in favor of the bulls right now, all of them, like trench systems that get captured or mercenaries that get higher pay somewhere else, are going to turn against the bulls. And so that colors the reason that I ended up uploading that video last weekend. And that also colors the reason that I say that today Bitcoin's price got another chance. The bulls got a second chance to get it right. And they've got to make this counteroffensive work. They have to. And so for Bitcoin's counteroffensive to function properly, for this counteroffensive to come to completion, Bitcoin needs to capture $26,600. As you can see, if you're a technical analyst, you'll see why I put this price level here on the chart. This was the level of support that Bitcoin fell down to over and over and over again back during the middle to latter part of the month of May. We began using it as resistance as soon as we saw the attack from the SEC. We initially attempted to rally back up here above the 200 exponential moving average on the 4-hourly chart. We rejected from this downtrend, and then we also more or less rejected from 26,600. Fell down and corrected. We set a lower low below the first low back here on the 5th of June. And now on this rally that we saw over Friday and onto the weekend, we rejected once again off the exact same moving average. And we also this time rejected, or at least hitting our head around 26,600. Listen, guys, counteroffensives in war, even if the side that's making the counteroffensive can end up being pretty strong. But the question is, can you make a large enough breakthrough that you can completely change the field of battle? And so that's the question that the bulls have to answer right now, is can they take this moment, this opportunity where they have a strong stock market, a weak Dixie, and 25,236 is still in their hands? Can the bulls take advantage of this opportunity, make the most out of it, and then get a move on? To do so, they're going to have to do a few things. Number one, Bitcoin's got to get above this level. It's got to turn this back into a baseline. Remember my analogy to the trenches. This level at 2,600 is a captured trench system that the bears just took. This was a baseline level of support that Bitcoin was using for months. We came and tested this over and over, and if we went out on an attack, think about World War I. You guys know a little bit about history in World War I. You went out on an attack, and you'd come back to your trench, and you'd regroup, and you'd go back out, and you'd fight again. Well, the tricky thing is, if you do too big of an attack or the enemy attacks too large, then you end up losing that trench, and the enemy uses it against you. 26,600 is the first trench to flip. It has been captured by the bears. It was our safe haven. Think about it like that. It was our safe haven. It was the place that we, the bulls, came back to rest and recuperate for the next attack. Right now, we're trying to knock it down and trying to recapture it. This trench, this group of mercenaries, whatever you want to call it in the analogy, has switched sides. 26,600 is no longer support, which is what I draw blue as. It has transitioned into red for bearishness. It is resistance. And so what the bulls need to first do is they need to recapture and hold fast at 26,600. I will not be in the camp of believing the bulls are in charge until I see Bitcoin maintaining 26,600 again with fervor. Let me say that again. I will not be in the camp of believing the bulls are in charge until I see 26,600 recaptured and held with fervor. Because these lines at 26,600 were held fast for quite some time. The SEC's attack right here was like, dropping 100 M1 Abrams tanks into the middle of the no man's land in World War I and just completely broke straight through the lines, and the Bears captured them. We have to recapture this trench, my friends. And if we don't, the Bears are still in charge. You know why? Because right now we're overextended. We were using 26,600 as our support. Now we had to fall back to the... Remember, in warfare, in trench warfare, you have lines of trenches. You have the front line, you have the second line, you have the third line, you have the fourth. You have lines of trenches in case one of them gets captured. They're probably normally a mile or two apart in the First World War. And so we had a couple of... We had one at 26,600. We had one at 25,236. We not only lost the first trench up here at 26,600 completely. This is firmly in the hands of the Bears right now. We also briefly had an incursion beyond the trench at 25,236. Do you see the predicament that we're in? We were already in a correction. Then the Bears got a ton of reinforcements. They made a huge attack, and they weakened the morale of the Bulls. The Bulls need, in this moment, to regain the initiative. The Bears have the initiative. They already had the initiative ever since April 15th. Now they've got even more encouragement, and so the Bulls have one last chance to recapture the initiative with fervor. Recapture 26,600, or else we're going to end up losing the whole line, and we're going to probably have to retreat all the way back to $20,000. Now, if Bitcoin's going to actually start taking the initiative back, not only does it need to get above 26,600, Bitcoin also needs to get above this downtrending level of resistance right here. It is set with our pivot point at on the 15th of April at $31,000. There's a set point down here on the 6th of May at $29,700, and another set point here on the excuse me, I said on the 29th of May, on the 5th of May, and the next level here is on the 28th, 29th of May at 28,400. Bitcoin needs to break above that downtrend to be able to really go into a rally. If it can break above that downtrend, great. Then that's where we can start discussing that the Bulls have the initiative again. Until and if that happens, Bitcoin is going to be in danger of a major drop. And remember, guys, it's not just Bitcoin that's in hot water right now. Cardano is down 8% over the last 7 days, down 26% over the last 90, down 3% just today. Dogecoin down 3%. Solana down 1.1%. Litecoin's down. If you look at some of these charts, guys, the coin market cap doesn't really do it justice. This is the drop that we're witnessing on Cardano. You see this? Down 42% in 5 days because it was listed as a security. Down 31% right now. You look at Solana. Solana was already going through a huge amount of bearishness. Excuse me. I'm sorry. This is on FTX. Let me grab another chart. Solana was already undergoing a huge amount of repercussions from the FTX meltdown that we saw, and it was starting to recover. And it was sitting around up here at the $20 region, but now it's dropped from $22 down to $13, and it's currently sitting at $15, dropped 40%. Many of the major altcoins have dropped substantially. AVAX has dropped ever since April 15th, since we began this downtrend, is dropped in grand total 54%, and ever since the attack against the cryptocurrency market began, it dropped 27% and is currently still down about 18%. Those are all arguments in favor of the bulls. The bulls can hold out for a little while, but this is a war of attrition that the bears definitely seem to be winning. And so I don't fancy myself a bear. I don't fancy myself a perma bull either. I just like to look at the market through a bullish lens. But I have to understand, as an analyst, as an investor, as somebody who has a financial and fiduciary responsibility to my company, my family, and my viewers, I have to understand what the market is doing so that I can make rational, informed decisions and not making decisions based on dogma or based on blind loyalty to the cause. I love Bitcoin, and ideologically, I align with it almost perfectly. That does not mean that I'm always going to be bullish on it. That does not mean I'm always going to paint it as a cherry picture, as a rosy picture. I'm not always going to see it through rose-tinted glasses. I'm going to do my very best to look at Bitcoin logically and not emotionally. I do have emotions about Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin. I think it's great. Those emotions do not impact my analysis of the price. Those two things stay separate. Separation of logic and emotion in your trading and your investment. It's very, very important. When I'm looking at this market right now, I see so many points in favor of the bears, and it honestly looks a little bit to me like we're in some kind of war, and one side is massively, massively stronger, and they're just waiting for the right moment to strike. That's what this looks like right now. And so I could be wrong on that. It's very possible that Bitcoin does go through a major rally. Right now, Bitcoin's done a good job of sitting right there against the lines at 26,600. It's done a very fantastic, wonderful job of standing right there in an attempt to break through. Whether or not Bitcoin is able to is something that time will tell. As I've said, I don't believe that there's a lot of bullishness that's backing up Bitcoin that is going to be consistent enough and stay here for long enough to give the bulls what they need. If we look at Lux Algo, we may find some bullishness. You know, you can see that Bitcoin has had a buy signal on the 4-hourly chart, but we were not able to even get confirmation. That buy signal was never confirmed. We are still under a confirmed downtrend ever since June the 4th, the day right before the SEC launched their attack. On top of that, we did have a blue X, which is basically a exit. Those are some of your exits here with Lux Algo. You can see some of these exits are just beautifully timed, and these don't repaint, just so you know. They will, like on the candlestick, but after it's there, they're not going to go back and get rid of themselves. So these are here permanently. You can see these exits are very, very good. I mean, just take a look at these exits. These ones on top, these two right here, these are your exits for your longs. These three on the bottom are your exits for your shorts. You can see that if you're in a movement, you did pretty well by following just these exits, even if that's all you did. So Lux Algo is giving us some pretty good information. You can also see that whenever we have one of these exits, we normally have a major reversal. We saw an exit right here, reversal. Exit right here, reversal. Right here, reversal. Exit down here, we saw a reversal. These exits do a pretty good job before warning about a major reversal that could be impending. And so we've just seen a blue X up here, which indicates that this bullish rally could be over. And if you were in a trade and a long, then you may want to have take profits. Also considering the fact that this buy signal came in, its take profit was at 26,700. That's exactly where we went. And by the way, that didn't repaint either. If we go and rewind the clock back here to the moment that buy signal showed up, you can see it was sitting at 26,700. Lux Algo predicted it perfectly, about as perfectly as you can get, exactly how far Bitcoin would go. You can see it stayed at the exact same spot the whole time. So if you don't have Lux Algo, this trade would have been so simple by just doing exactly what it said. It would have been a trade you'd be in for a day and a half. You would have made 5.5% without leverage. You made 5% leverage. You would have made 27.5%. Would have been great money. But use leverage responsibly, by the way, guys. It is a form of debt. And I don't think debt is evil, but make sure you are absolutely competent enough, and not so much competent enough, but educated and spiritually where you need to be to use it properly. So Lux Algo did a great job here. The problem is this is also a point in favor of the bears. This buy signal never got confirmed. Bitcoin's going to have to go beyond its take profit signal, beyond the blue X, which it very rarely does, to get a confirmed buy signal, which is just enough to actually send it any higher. This leads me to believe that this bullish movement is more than likely over. Bitcoin definitely can rally. Don't get me wrong. There's always going to be some bullishness that can kind of just come out of nowhere because one guy decides, I'm just going to buy $250 million of Bitcoin. Somebody wants to just go and flood the market with buy orders, whatever it may be. There's always noise in the market that can cause the market to do things that are unexpected. But we have to work on a probability. Probabilistically, when we see one of these X's, the market is almost done rallying, or it is done rallying. Sometimes it goes on a little further. You can see when we had the initiative and the bulls were very strong. Remember, they were extremely strong back here in early April. We continued beyond the blue X. Although most times you're going to stop once you see that X. And that's what we've seen so far. That's kind of the death nail, to be honest with you, of a rally, is when you see that X. And so I would not be surprised to see Bitcoin break up here to this downtrend. Hear me here. We're already so close to the downtrend. I would not be surprised to see Bitcoin break up to the downtrend. I think that getting beyond that downtrend would mean the bulls are starting to regain initiative, but I think the likelihood of them doing that at this point is slim. So Bitcoin's price did just get a second chance, and I outlined what that chance looks like. Bitcoin needs to break above 26,600, needs to recapture that trench, needs to hold it fast. This needs to happen in the next 2 to 3 days. From there, Bitcoin needs to break up to the break and rally to the upside, to that downtrending level of resistance. Then it needs to hold there and break above it. Keep that in mind. If Bitcoin is able to do those two things, that's going to be phenomenal. If Bitcoin's not able to do those two things, then the bears are likely going to remain in power. Appreciate all of you guys tuning in. We've got 10 more minutes here. Let's go ahead and read some chat. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in. We had a great weekend. We actually saw the Falcon 9 launch. There's a Falcon 9 launch that happened yesterday. We were at Kennedy Space Center. I've never been to Kennedy Space Center. I've lived in Florida for almost 15 years. Never went. Was so excited to be there. There's some kind of cool stuff that goes on there that I'm not going to tell you about. You kind of just have to go and see it. But if you go, and some of you guys will probably know what I'm talking about, you have to go to the to the Atlantis, the Space Shuttle Atlantis building. It's where they've got a giant solid rocket booster. Literally, it's a real, I think it's a real, it might be a replica, but it's life-size solid rocket booster. Thing's about 250 feet tall. It's crazy. You're looking up at a 25-story building. I told Sarah, I'm like, yeah, you see that thing right there? That's taller than anything in our entire hometown. There's nothing, not a radio tower that tall. It's crazy. So we were there, had a great time, a lot of fun, got a lot of walking in. Just came just shy of burning myself. And we got to see the rocket launch, and it was so cool. If you've never been that close to a rocket launch, it's the closest you can get to a rocket launch legally on the Space Coast. It's 7.5 miles from the launch over at Slick 40, where SpaceX was doing the launch. It was really cool. We were watching it. We were watching the live stream on our phone. I was like, Sarah, be careful because the live stream might have about a 30-second delay. And as soon as I said that, I looked out the window. I'm like, there it is. It's right there. And you can't hear it because it's 7 miles away and the sound's coming to you. And it's just, you see this thing just going up. It was so cool. It was awesome. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. It was definitely the cap off to Father's Day. It was great. Had a great time. Shadrach Frost said, missed you all last week. Darn work. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Let's see. A lot of arguing in chat, it seems like, over that concept of Juneteenth. Guys, I'm not trying to make a political statement. I'm sure that holiday has been politicized. I don't really care. That's not my fight. Look, I understand that people are probably, I'm sure that's been politicized. All I know about it, because I'm not gonna be honest, I haven't studied the holiday that much. All I know about it is that it's supposed to represent the day the slaves were freed. I believe that you guys can be free of that financial bondage. All right. Really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Let's read some chat. Let's see. I watch the launches all the time. Night launches are the best. Yeah, I bet they are. It was so loud. It was awesome. I was messing with my wife because we were watching it from the car because it was the best place to get a view. And I walked out. I walked to the trunk, and you know how if you have a car, you have a transmission, right? So you can kind of rock a car back and forth a little bit. It's probably not best for it, but you can rock a car back and forth a little bit. So I walked to the back of the car, and I was getting Gatorade or something out of the trunk, and so I started kind of rocking the car back and forth a litlittle bit. And then I walked up to the car, walked up into the driver's seat, and I'm like, Sarah, did you feel that? She's like, what? I was like, did you feel the rocking of the car? Like, could you feel it? I felt that. Could you feel that? Like, yeah, I felt that. What was that? I said, man, they must have been doing some kind of tests on the rocket over there. I mean, you know, whenever a rocket launch, it kind of shakes the ground, right? I mean, I guess they were doing some kind of test. I hope the thing doesn't explode. She's like, explode? And so when the rocket launched, you know, it starts curving over towards the Atlantic Ocean. She's like, and she saw it curving, and she didn't. It's kind of hard to tell what direction it's curving. So she's like, is it coming towards us? Because I'm sorry to my poor wife. Oh my goodness. It was fun. Yeah, and then we got in probably the biggest lightning storm that I have ever been in 15 years in Florida. And there was lightning flashing all around us, and it was just absolutely crazy. Rufus Adejumo said, press the like button, please. Yes, guys, make sure to hit that like button if you haven't already. Let's see if we can't get to 200 likes before we wrap it out. Thank you guys so much for all 400 of you guys for tuning in. By the way, guys, you can get access to Lux Algo, that wonderful technical indicator that basically calls rallies almost perfectly. I have never seen a technical indicator that can do that, by the way. I have looked at all the competitors. I've looked at all of it. I have never seen a technical indicator that can do what Lux Algo does. That's the reason it's the most widely adopted technical indicator. It completely revolutionized paid indicators. Before Lux Algo came around, paid indicators were viewed as a scam. Why? Because they mostly were. Lux Algo completely rewrote the script on that. There's tens of thousands of people that are currently using Lux Algo, hundreds of thousands of alumni with it. It's an incredible product, and it is the #1 technical indicator on TradingView. It literally is, by reviews, by 5 stars, by all of that. It's hands down, bar none, so far out, the best technical indicator, and you can get access to it using our special coupon code JEB30, JEBB30. By the way, just a little bit of backstory. I want you guys to know I'm actually personal friends with the founder of Lux Algo. There's not a conflict of interest there. I would promote this product just because of the product it was. I met him and got to know him like a year after I started using it. But I just want you guys to know that I really like the person that founded it too. Obviously, Sean and I we're not like, we don't go way back 10, 15 years, but I know him relatively well. And from what I can tell, he seems to be a pretty solid dude. He's got a YouTube channel called Lux Algo. You can go see some of his content over there on YouTube as well. Good deal. Really appreciate all of that. Cool experience. It was definitely a cool experience. It was a lot of fun. They had real rockets there. It was really cool. Okay. Good deal, guys. All right. Well pronounced. Adejumo? Did I get that right? I got that right? Really? Oh, man, that's exciting. That's awesome. That is wonderful. Good deal. Sup, Jeb. Love your face. Keep it real, man. Much. Hope your family is well. Thank you. Yes, my family as well. They're actually all with me today out here in the rest of the office because Malachi's preschool is closed today. So Malachi's out there probably causing all kinds of chaos with his mom. I think I hear him out there. I heard her go, Malachi, a second ago. So definitely be praying for him to be well behaved. Anyway, guys, just kind of wrap it out for the last 3 minutes here. I just want to kind of reiterate and go full circle on this concept of financial sovereignty because I believe that if you're watching this stream, you are here because you want to make a major change in your life financially. I believe that. I know that to be the case for many of you. Every time I run a poll, I will show that poll. Just so you know, I'll go ahead and run that poll. Are you in crypto to primarily, as in first and foremost, to make a massive change in your life financially, in your finances? If I run that poll, I've run that poll before. Every time I run that poll, I get over 95% of people saying, yes, the reason I'm primarily in cryptocurrency is to make a massive change in my finances. If you want to make a massive change in your finances, I'm here to tell you that financial bondage, which is what you may be in right now, i.e. you don't have enough money to do whatever it is that you're purposed to do, or you have people that are, you know, you are not able to be self-sovereign in your own currency, whatever it is, there are 2 reasons that you're in that. Disregarding physical disability, disregarding oppression of some kind of slavery, living in a communist state, disregarding you living in a communist state or a socialistic state that's extremely social. And if you live in a capitalistic state, you're able-bodied and you have at least some degree of freedom. The only thing holding you back from financial sovereignty is education and your spiritual life. I'm not talking about spending time with God, although that's important. I'm talking about your character, your integrity. I'm talking about your timeliness, your order, your discipline, your self-control. These characteristics and the education of how to go and make the money, and the mindset, those are the things holding you back. And that is the core of financial sovereignty. Financial bondage is not a finance problem. It is a spiritual problem, which is character, and it is an education problem. If I can give you guys the education in the principles of finance and the principles of technical analysis, the principles of investment, and I can give you the education in how to be the right character, that you would be able to steward the blessings that you will be given properly, that you would hold your hands like this and not like this, where you would not have your blessings slip through your fingers, but you'd be able to hold on to them and grow them and be wise stewards of them, then you can make a major change in your life financially. But I'm here to tell you, it is not as simple as just saying, I'm going to buy this one altcoin. It is not as simple as saying, I'm just going to go win the lottery. It's not as simple as saying, I'm just going to go be a quarterback in the NFL. It is not as simple as saying, I'm going to get a big paycheck. You have to be able to hold the blessing. Guys, I have been blessed so many times in my life, and I've let it slip right through my fingers, and it was my own fault. And so I don't want that for you. I don't want that for me. I don't want that for my family. I don't want that for anyone. When you are given a blessing, I want to teach you a blessing. I want to teach you how to hold it properly, that you wouldn't drop it. Hold it as the precious thing that it is. Hold it like a newborn baby. Hold it like a vase of like a glassware. Hold it like something that will break if you drop it, and hold it properly. And I want to help teach you that. And one of the ways I can help teach you that is by giving you an education in technical analysis and crypto, because that's a place to make an investment opportunity. But I also want to teach you the principles of financial sovereignty, that you would be able to go on and live that life that I know is out for you guys. Guys, I do have to wrap it out. I really appreciate all of you for tuning in. As I said, I do have to go. Before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.